The asteroid field stretched out before them like a maze of floating rocks. Some were as big as cities, others no larger than ground vehicles. Pirates had built their base inside the largest asteroid, carving tunnels and landing bays from solid rock. Coalition sensors showed the civilian transport docked deep inside the base. Veltar watched his instruments carefully. The 3 humans in the small ship with him had changed completely. Captain Jinho piloted through the asteroid field with movements that seemed almost lazy. But their ship never came close to hitting anything. Dr. Mira studied tactical displays while humming softly under her breath. Sergeant Kim Daeho cleaned some kind of weapon that Veltar had never seen before. Coalition fleet is holding position outside the field, Dr. Mira reported. They're waiting for us to fail. Understandable, Captain Jinho said. His voice was still calm, but now it had a different quality, like winter wind. Daeho, what do you see? The sergeant looked up from his weapon. 37 ships. Good positioning. They've done this before. He paused. But they're thinking like pirates, not soldiers. Meaning, they want to keep their treasure safe. Makes them predictable. Veltar didn't understand. The pirates had more ships, better position, and home advantage. How could that make them predictable? His mandibles clicked nervously as he checked his recording equipment again. The Coalition had sent their best warriors on similar missions before. The Zalak were famous for their strength and heavy armor. The Theknari were skilled hunters who could track anything across a dozen star systems. But they always negotiated with pirates because direct assault was too costly. Incoming transmission, Dr. Mira announced. The main screen lit up with the face of a Gorthak pirate. His gray skin was covered in ritual scars and his forearms gestured aggressively. Coalition fools, turn back now or join the others in our prison cells. Captain Jinho leaned back in his chair. This is Captain Lee Jinho of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to discuss the release of your prisoners. The pirate laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. Earth, never heard of it. You want to negotiate, little mammal? Send us 50,000 credits and we might let half of them live. I have a counter-offer, the captain said pleasantly. What? Surrender now and we won't hurt you. Veltar's instruments nearly overloaded from the pirate's rage. The transmission cut off immediately, replaced by alerts as 37 pirate ships began moving toward them. Well, Dr. Mira said, still humming. That went about as expected. Veltar couldn't stay quiet anymore. You just threatened someone with 37 ships. With 3 people. Are all humans insane? Sergeant Kim Daeho looked at him for the first time since they'd left the station. His eyes were very dark and very calm. Not insane. Just human. Captain Jinho began typing commands into the navigation system. Veltar, you wanted to study us. Here's your first lesson. Most species fight to win. Humans fight to end the fight. That makes no sense. It will, Dr. Mira said. The pirate ships came at them in a standard formation, a net pattern designed to capture or destroy anything trying to escape. It was good tactics for dealing with most species. Veltar had seen it work against Centaurian diplomatic ships and even Theknari hunting vessels. But Captain Jinho flew their ship straight toward the center of the net. They expect us to run, the captain explained, as pirate ships began firing. Or to hide behind asteroids and play games. They've set up their formation to catch runners and corner hiders. So what are we doing? Veltar asked, watching energy bolts flash past their ship. We're disappointing them. Their ship shook as a blast hit their shields. Veltar's instruments showed massive damage to their defensive systems. They couldn't take many more hits like that. Dr. Mira's fingers danced across her control panel. Daeho, I'm sending you targeting data for their command ship. Confirmed. I see it. What targeting data? Veltar demanded. Our weapons are too small to damage their command ship. Captain Jinho smiled for the first time since leaving the station. It was not a nice smile. Who said anything about our weapons? Before Veltar could ask what that meant, their ship suddenly accelerated. Not toward safety, but directly at the largest pirate vessel. The captain was flying them on a collision course. You're going to ram them. Veltar's voice cracked with panic. No, Sergeant Kim Daeho said. He had put on some kind of armored suit while Veltar wasn't watching. I am. The sergeant moved to the airlock. Dr. Mira's fingers never stopped moving on her controls, but she called out, Daeho, come home safe. Always do, he replied. Veltar watched in horror as Sergeant Kim Daeho opened the airlock and jumped out into space. He was wearing a small maneuvering pack and carrying what looked like a metal box. The human flew through the vacuum like he had been born in space, dodging energy blasts and chunks of asteroid. "He'll die out there," Veltar shouted. "Probably," Captain Jinho agreed. "But probably isn't definitely." On Veltar's sensors, the sergeant was just a tiny dot moving between massive ships. Any one of the pirate vessels could have killed him with a single shot. But they were all focused on the ship carrying the captain, Dr. Mira, and Veltar. "Thermal bloom in 3 seconds," Dr. Mira announced calmly. "What thermal bloom?" Veltar asked. The sergeant's voice came through their communicator, very calm and slightly out of breath. "Package delivered. Coming home now." The pirate command ship exploded, not damaged, not disabled. It simply ceased to exist in a ball of white fire that lit up the entire asteroid field. The explosion was so bright that Veltar's instruments automatically dimmed to protect his eyes. "How?" he whispered. "Humans are very good at making things explode," Dr. Mira explained. "It's one of our oldest skills." The other pirate ships had stopped firing. Veltar could hear confused chatter on their communication channels. Their command ship had been destroyed by a single human carrying a box. It shouldn't have been possible. Sergeant Kim Daeho drifted back toward their ship, using his maneuvering pack to avoid the debris from the explosion. He didn't seem worried about the 36 remaining pirate ships that could kill him at any moment. "Veltar," Captain Jinho said quietly, "watch your instruments. Tell me what you see happening to the pirates." Veltar looked at his scanners. The pirate ships were still in position, but something was wrong. Their energy signatures were fluctuating. Their formations were breaking apart. They're afraid," Veltar realized. "Yes," Dr. Mira said. "Now they know they're not fighting normal people. They're fighting humans." The sergeant climbed back through the airlock, calmly removing his armor. "Command ship down." "The rest are just workers now." "Workers?" Veltar asked. "Pirates follow strength," Captain Jinho explained. "Take out their strongest leader, and the rest become sheep looking for a shepherd." As if to prove his point, one of the pirate ships began broadcasting a surrender signal. The surrender signal lasted exactly 30 seconds before it cut off. Veltar watched his scanners as the remaining pirate ships regrouped. Someone else had taken command and was screaming orders over their communication channels. "They changed their minds," Dr. Mira observed. She didn't sound disappointed. "That's fine," Captain Jinho said. "We only needed to show them what we could do. Now they know this isn't a normal fight." Veltar didn't understand. The humans had destroyed one ship, but 36 remained. The pirates were angry now, not just greedy. They would fight harder, not surrender. "You made them mad," he pointed out. "Now they'll want revenge." "Good," Sergeant Kim Daeho said. He was checking his weapons again. Angry people make mistakes. The pirate ships began moving in a new formation. Instead of trying to capture the human ship, they were positioning to destroy it completely. Energy cannons charged and missile tubes opened. They had enough firepower to turn the small human vessel into vapor. "Incoming transmission," Dr. Mira announced. A different pirate appeared on screen. This one was a Draknari with blue scales and burning yellow eyes. "Humans, you killed Captain Gorthak. Now you die slowly." "Actually," Captain Jinho said politely, "I'd like to make another offer." "No offers." "You die now!" "Send 3 of your best warriors to our ship. If they can kill us in personal combat, you keep the prisoners and we'll leave. If we win, you release everyone and surrender your base." The Draknari blinked in confusion. 3 against 3? 3 against 3, the captain confirmed. Veltar's mandibles clicked frantically. "You can't be serious." "Draknari warriors are twice your size and have natural armor." "That's true," Dr. Mira agreed. "But they've never fought humans before." The pirates talked among themselves for several minutes. Finally, the Draknari captain returned to the screen. "We accept. But when our warriors kill you, your deaths will not be quick." "Understood," Captain Jinho said. 20 minutes later, 3 Draknari warriors docked with the human ship. They were massive creatures, each standing nearly 3 meters tall. Their blue scales were thick as armor plates, and their claws could cut through steel. They carried energy weapons and vibroblades that hummed with deadly power. The humans met them in the cargo bay. Veltar watched from behind a protective barrier, his instruments recording everything. This was insane. The Draknari warriors each weighed as much as 2 humans combined. They had natural weapons and armor. They had been bred for fighting. "Are you ready to die, little mammals?" The lead warrior growled. "We're ready," Captain Jinho said simply. The fight began without ceremony. The Draknari warriors charged forward, their weapons raised and their mouths open in battle cries that shook the walls. What happened next would haunt Veltar's dreams for years. The humans didn't fight like warriors. They fought like a pack of predators who had been hunting together for years. When the first Draknari swung his massive sword, Captain Jinho simply wasn't there anymore. He had moved faster than Veltar's eyes could follow, appearing behind the warrior and striking pressure points that shouldn't have existed on Draknari anatomy. Dr. Mira faced the second warrior without any weapons at all. When the Draknari tried to grab her, she twisted in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. The warrior's own momentum carried him into the wall with a crash that dented the metal. But it was Sergeant Kim Daeho who made Veltar understand that he was watching something unprecedented. The third warrior came at him with claws extended and energy weapon firing. The sergeant smiled. Then he started laughing. He fought like someone who didn't care if he lived or died. When the Draknari's claws raked across his chest, drawing blood, he laughed harder and moved closer. When the energy weapon burned his shoulder, he grabbed the barrel with his bare hand and used it to pull the warrior off balance. Veltar's instruments went crazy, trying to track what was happening. The humans moved with impossible coordination, like they were sharing one mind. When one was in trouble, the other two appeared instantly to help. When they struck, they aimed for points that would cause maximum pain and confusion. But worst of all was their faces. They looked happy. The fight lasted less than 5 minutes. When it ended, 3 Draknari warriors lay unconscious on the floor. The humans had various cuts and burns, but they were all standing. Captain Jinho was breathing hard. Dr. Mira was wiping blood from a split lip. Sergeant Kim Daeho was still laughing quietly. "Well," the captain said, "that was fun." Veltar realized he was shaking. His instruments had recorded everything, but he didn't trust the data. The humans had just defeated 3 trained Draknari warriors, without using any weapons except their own bodies. It wasn't possible. How? He whispered. Dr. Mira looked at him with that strange smile again. "Veltar, what do you know about human evolution?" "You evolved from tree-dwelling mammals," he said automatically. "Peaceful gatherers who learned to use simple tools." "That's what we told the Coalition," she agreed. "But it's not the whole truth. We did evolve from mammals, but not peaceful ones. We evolved from pack hunters. Persistence predators. We're designed to chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion, then kill it while it's too tired to fight back." "But you're so small," Veltar protested. "Size doesn't matter when you hunt in groups," Captain Jinho explained, "and when you never give up." The pirates were broadcasting again. The Draknari captain's voice was shaking. "This is impossible. Our warriors are the strongest in the sector." "Were," Sergeant Kim Daeho corrected cheerfully. "They were the strongest. You cheated somehow." "No cheating," Captain Jinho said. "Just humans being human. Now about those prisoners." But the Draknari captain had cut the transmission. On Veltar's scanners, he could see frantic activity among the pirate ships. Some were arguing over communications. Others were trying to leave. A few were actually firing on each other. "They're panicking," Dr. Mira observed with satisfaction. 3 Draknari warriors," Veltar said, still processing what he had witnessed. "You beat 3 Draknari warriors with your bare hands." "Actually," Captain Jinho said, "that was just practice. The real fight starts now." "Real fight?" Sergeant Kim Daeho was putting on his armor again. "The ones in the ships. They won't surrender now. Too scared. Scared pirates are dangerous pirates. So we go inside their base and finish this," Dr. Mira said. She was checking her own equipment now. Veltar looked at the 3 humans preparing for battle. They had just done the impossible, and now they wanted to fight 36 ships worth of pirates in their own fortress. "You're all completely insane," he said. "Probably," Captain Jinho agreed, "but that's what makes us human." Veltar clicked his mandibles together as he watched the human ship dock with the station. The vessel looked simple compared to the sleek Centaurian cruisers or the massive Zelak battleships that filled the other bays. It was gray and plain with sharp edges that seemed almost crude. "Look at that thing," buzzed Krixtal, the station commander. His blue skin rippled with amusement. "It looks like they built it with spare parts." Veltar adjusted his recording equipment. As the station's xenobiologist, he had studied dozens of species joining the Galactic Coalition. Humans were just another new race, nothing special. They came from a small blue planet called Earth, had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel, and seemed eager to please everyone. The airlock hissed open. 3 humans stepped onto the station. Veltar had seen pictures, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall, but not as tall as Centaurians. They looked soft, with no natural armor or claws. Their skin was pink and seemed fragile. The leader wore a simple uniform with strange symbols on it. "Welcome to Harmony's Edge," Krixtal said in the common tongue. "I am Commander Krixtal." The human leader stepped forward. He was older than the other 2, with short black hair and calm dark eyes. "Thank you, Commander. I am Captain Lee Jinho of the Earth Defense Force. This is Dr. Park Mira, our xenopsychologist, and Sergeant Kim Daeho." Veltar noticed how the humans moved. They seemed relaxed, but their eyes never stopped moving. They looked at everything, the walls, the ceiling, the exits. It was like they were mapping the entire station in their heads. Dr. Park Mira was smaller than the males, with long black hair tied back. She smiled often, but Veltar noticed her smile never reached her eyes. Sergeant Kim Daeho stood slightly behind the captain. He said nothing, but his hand stayed near his belt where Veltar could see some kind of tools. "We are honored to meet with the Coalition," Captain Jinho said. His voice was steady and polite. "We hope to learn much from the other species." Over the next few days, Veltar watched the humans carefully. They attended every meeting, asked many questions, and seemed very interested in Coalition technology. Other species found them boring. The Zelak warriors laughed at their small size. The Theknari hunters said humans looked too weak to catch even the smallest prey. But Veltar noticed strange things. When Dr. Mira talked to other species, she seemed to understand their emotions better than they understood themselves. She would nod at exactly the right moments and ask questions that made everyone feel important. Captain Jinho never seemed surprised by anything, even when told about the most dangerous parts of space. And Sergeant Kim Daeho, he never stopped watching. On the 4th day, alarms began screaming throughout the station. Veltar's 6 legs carried him quickly to the command center, where Commander Krixtal was speaking into his communicator. "What is happening?" Veltar asked. "Pirates," Krixtal said, his tentacles writhing with anger. "They attacked a civilian transport near the Kepler system. 50 families on board, including children." The main screen showed the attacked ship. It was badly damaged and floating dead in space. The pirates had taken it to an asteroid field where they had built a base. Coalition sensors showed at least 30 pirate ships surrounding the asteroid. "We will send the usual diplomatic team," said Commander Thekval, a tall Theknari with golden fur. "Perhaps we can negotiate for the prisoners." "Negotiate?" Captain Jinho had entered the command center quietly. "Those people could be dying right now." "That is unfortunate," Thekval replied, "but rushing in would only get more people killed. The pirates have too many ships in a strong position." Veltar watched Captain Jinho's face. The human showed no emotion, but something changed in his eyes. It was very small, but Veltar's species was good at noticing small changes. "What if we offered an alternative approach?" the captain asked. "You have combat experience?" Commander Krixtal asked, sounding doubtful. "Some," Captain Jinho said simply. Thekval's ears flicked with amusement. "No offense, human, but your species has barely left your home planet. This requires experienced warriors." "Of course," Captain Jinho said, still polite. "But perhaps we could assist in some small way. My team has training in difficult situations." Veltar found himself curious. The humans had been so quiet and peaceful for days. Now they wanted to fight dangerous pirates. It seemed foolish, but something about the captain's calm voice made him want to learn more. "I would like to observe," Veltar announced. "For scientific purposes." Krixtal looked surprised. "You want to go on a combat mission?" "The humans are still new to us," Veltar explained. "This could be valuable research." After much discussion, the Coalition agreed to let the humans try their approach. It would be a small mission. Just the 3 humans, a few Coalition security officers, and Veltar as an observer. If the humans failed quickly, the main fleet could move in for negotiations. As they prepared to leave, Veltar attached monitoring devices to his suit. He wanted to record everything about human behavior during combat. The other species had been fighting in space for thousands of years. Humans had been doing it for maybe 50 years. This would probably be over very quickly. Captain Jinho gathered his team in the small ship they had been given. Veltar watched as the three humans checked their equipment. They moved differently now. The casual, friendly behavior was gone. They spoke in short, quiet sentences and used words Veltar didn't understand. "Deho, how much boom do we have?" the captain asked. "Enough to make noise," the sergeant replied. Dr. Mira was no longer smiling. She studied star charts with cold, focused eyes. 17 choke points in that asteroid field. They'll expect us to use the main approach. Then we won't, Captain Jinho said. As their ship moved toward the pirate base, Veltar began to realize something important. These humans weren't the same people who had politely attended meetings for 4 days. It was like they had taken off masks and become completely different creatures. The captain sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady on the controls. His heartbeat, which Veltar could monitor through his equipment, had actually gotten slower. That made no sense. Most species got more excited before fighting. "Veltar," Dr. Mira said without turning around, "you might want to record this carefully." "Why?" Veltar asked. She finally looked at him and her smile was back. But this time it was very different from her diplomatic smile. This smile made Veltar's chitin crawl, because after today everything changes. The pirate base was carved deep inside the largest asteroid. Veltar's scanners showed a maze of tunnels, landing bays, and hidden chambers. The civilian transport was docked in the center, surrounded by dozens of heavily armed pirates. Getting inside would be hard enough. Getting out with 50 prisoners would be impossible. At least it should have been impossible. "Deho, take the main entrance," Captain Jinho said calmly. "Make noise." "Lots of noise. How much noise?" the sergeant asked. "All of it." Dr. Mira was studying the base layout on her screen. "I'll take the service tunnels. Should reach the prisoners in about 20 minutes. "What about me?" Veltar asked. He wasn't sure why he was asking. His job was to observe, not participate. "You stay with me," Captain Jinho said. "Someone needs to document this properly." "Document what?" The captain's smile was becoming familiar now. It was the smile of something that hunted in the dark. The end of piracy in this sector. Sergeant Kim Deho left first. Veltar watched on the scanners as the human approached the main entrance to the base. It was heavily defended with energy cannons, force fields, and guard posts. Any normal assault would need at least 100 soldiers to break through. Deho was just one person. The sergeant activated his communicator. "Hey, pirates! I'm here to kill you all." Then he began running straight at the entrance, screaming what Veltar assumed were human battle cries. The pirates opened fire immediately, filling the space with deadly energy beams. But Deho moved like liquid, flowing around the attacks in ways that defied logic. "Is he insane?" Veltar asked. "No," Captain Jinho replied. "He's advertising." "Advertising what?" "That humans don't follow normal rules." On the scanner, Veltar watched the sergeant reach the entrance. Instead of trying to break through the defenses, he started setting explosive charges on the asteroid's surface. Not to break in, but to make the entire base shake. The explosions began 30 seconds later. Each blast sent shockwaves through the asteroid, making lights flicker and causing pirates to stumble. But Deho wasn't trying to damage the base. He was making noise. Lots of noise. "Psychological warfare," Dr. Mira explained over the communicator. She was already inside the service tunnels, moving toward the prisoners. "Make them think we have an army out here." Captain Jinho and Veltar entered through a maintenance hatch on the opposite side of the base. The tunnels were dark and cramped, barely wide enough for the humans. Veltar's natural ability to see in low light helped them navigate, but he kept expecting to run into guards. They didn't see a single pirate. "Where is everyone?" Veltar whispered. "Dealing with Deho," the captain replied. "Fear makes people focus on the loudest threat." As if to prove his point, another explosion shook the base. Somewhere in the distance, Veltar could hear pirates shouting orders and running footsteps. All the noise was coming from the main entrance. They reached a junction where several tunnels met. Captain Jinho held up his hand for silence, then pointed down one of the passages. Veltar could hear voices speaking in the Gorthak language. 6 guards, the captain whispered after listening for a moment. "Probably watching the prisoners from this side." "How do you know their language?" "Dr. Mira taught me on the way here. Humans are good at learning languages quickly." He paused. "We're also good at using languages as weapons." Before Veltar could ask what that meant, Captain Jinho stepped into the tunnel and started speaking in perfect Gorthak. His voice carried the exact accent and intonation of the pirate captain they had killed earlier. "Report," he barked. "The humans are breaking through the main entrance. I need all units to support the defenders immediately." The response was immediate. 6 Gorthak pirates came running down the tunnel, their weapons ready. They were so focused on obeying their dead captain's orders that they didn't really look at who had given the command. Captain Jinho waited until they were close, then switched back to his human voice. "Hello." The confusion on their faces lasted exactly long enough for the captain to strike. Veltar had thought the fight with the Draknari warriors was impressive, but this was different. The captain moved through the 6 pirates like he was dancing. Each movement was precise and economical. No wasted energy, no unnecessary violence. When it was over, 6 pirates lay unconscious on the floor and Captain Jinho didn't even look tired. "You didn't kill them," Veltar observed. "No point. They're not the real problem." "What is the real problem?" "The ones who won't surrender when this is over." They continued through the tunnels. Dr. Mira's voice came through the communicator every few minutes, reporting her progress. She had reached the prisoners and was beginning to evacuate them through the service tunnels. "Most were injured but alive. How many pirates are you seeing?" Captain Jinho asked her. "Almost none. They're all focused on whatever Daiho is doing out there." Another massive explosion shook the base. This one was bigger than the others, and Veltar heard the sound of metal tearing. "Daiho," the captain called. "Status report. Having fun." The sergeant's voice crackled with static and excitement. "Just opened their main hangar to space. About half their ships are gone. Good. Try not to destroy everything. We might need some of those ships. Can't promise anything, Captain. These pirates really don't like me." Veltar was beginning to understand the human strategy. It wasn't about overwhelming force or superior technology. It was about making the enemy destroy themselves through fear and confusion. Sergeant Kim Daiho wasn't trying to break into the base. He was making the pirates think a massive human army was attacking, causing them to panic and make mistakes. Meanwhile, Dr. Mira was quietly rescuing the prisoners, and Captain Jinho was eliminating key defenders without anyone noticing. By the time the pirates realized what was happening, it would be too late. "Captain," Dr. Mira's voice was tense. "I've got a problem. The pirate leader is here with the last group of prisoners. He's threatening to kill them if we don't surrender." "What species?" "Draknari, big one. Looks like he might be related to the captain we killed earlier." "Ah," Captain Jinho said. "Personal revenge. That makes this more complicated." They reached a large chamber where Veltar could hear voices. Through a crack in the wall, he could see Dr. Mira facing off against a massive Draknari pirate. Between them were 15 civilians from various species, all tied up and looking terrified. "I know you killed my brother," the Draknari was roaring. "Show yourself, coward. Face me with honor." Dr. Mira stood very still. She was much smaller than the pirate, and she had no weapons visible. But something about her posture reminded Veltar of a hunting cat he had once observed. Perfectly relaxed, but ready to explode into motion. "Your brother challenged us to fair combat," she said calmly. "We accepted. He lost. Lies. Humans cannot defeat Draknari warriors. Would you like to test that theory?" Captain Jinho was watching through the crack in the wall. His face showed no emotion, but Veltar noticed his hands were very steady. "She's going to fight him," Veltar whispered. "Yes. He's 3 times her size. Yes, she could die." Captain Jinho looked at him with those calm, dark eyes. "Veltar, let me teach you something important about humans. We're not afraid of dying. We're afraid of failing our friends." The Draknari pirate pulled out a massive vibroblade. "I challenge you, little mammal. Single combat. Winner takes all." Dr. Mira smiled. It was the same smile Captain Jinho and Sergeant Kim Daiho used. The smile of something that had been born to hunt. "I accept," she said. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of the Draknari's vibroblade. Dr. Mira stood perfectly still, her hands empty, facing an opponent who could cut her in half with a single swing. The 15 prisoners watched in terror as their only hope of rescue prepared to fight an impossible battle. Veltar's instruments recorded everything, but he found himself holding his breath. He had seen humans do incredible things over the past few hours, but this seemed beyond even their abilities. "Last chance, little mammal," the Draknari growled. "Surrender now and I'll make your death quick." "That's very kind of you," Dr. Mira replied. "But I have a different idea." She started walking toward him. Not running, not charging, just walking. Her pace was steady and unhurried, like she was taking a pleasant stroll. The Dreknari raised his weapon, confused by her calm approach. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Ending this," she said simply. The Dreknari swung his blade in a massive arc that should have cut her in two. But Dr. Mira wasn't there anymore. She had moved at the last second, flowing around the attack like water. Before the pirate could recover, she was inside his guard, striking pressure points on his arm. The vibroblade clattered to the floor. "Impossible." The Dreknari roared, swinging his massive fists. "You're too small." "Size isn't everything," Dr. Mira said, dodging each punch with minimal effort. Sometimes being small is an advantage. She was right. The Dreknari's size and strength meant nothing if he couldn't hit her. And Dr. Mira moved like she could predict exactly where each attack would come from. She didn't just dodge. She positioned herself so that the pirate's own momentum worked against him. Veltar watched in fascination as she used the Dreknari's rage against him. Every time he missed, he got angrier. Every time he got angrier, he made bigger, wilder attacks. And every wild attack left him more vulnerable. "You fight like a coward," the pirate gasped, already breathing hard from his efforts. "I fight like a human," Dr. Mira corrected. "We don't waste energy on showing off." She struck again, this time targeting nerve clusters in his legs. The Dreknari stumbled, his left leg going numb. He tried to grab her, but she slipped away from his clumsy grasp. "Stand still and fight." "Why would I do that?" "This is working fine." Captain Jinho was watching through the crack in the wall with the same calm expression he always wore. "She's playing with him," he told Veltar quietly. "Playing?" "Testing his limits. Learning his patterns. Humans are very good at pattern recognition." As if to prove his point, Dr. Mira suddenly changed tactics. Instead of dodging the next attack, she stepped into it, catching the Dreknari's wrist and using his own strength to throw him across the chamber. He crashed into the wall with enough force to crack the metal. "How?" Veltar whispered. "Leverage," Captain Jinho explained. "And physics. A small force applied at the right point can move a much larger mass." The Dreknari pulled himself up from the floor, blue blood trickling from cuts on his scaled hide. His yellow eyes were wide with something Veltar had never seen in a Dreknari before. "Fear. What are you?" he asked. Dr. Mira tilted her head slightly. "That's an interesting question. What do you think I am?" "You move like a ghost. You strike like lightning. You're not natural." "Actually, I'm completely natural. I'm just very well trained." "Trained by who?" Dr. Mira's smile became broader. "By other humans. We've been perfecting this for thousands of years." That was when Veltar realized the true horror of what he was witnessing. Dr. Mira wasn't special among humans. She wasn't some rare warrior or enhanced soldier. She was just a xenopsychologist who happened to know how to fight, which meant that all humans could potentially do this. The thought made his chitin crawl. The Dreknari made one last desperate charge, putting all his remaining strength into a final attack. Dr. Mira waited until the last possible second, then stepped aside and struck the base of his skull with surgical precision. The massive pirate collapsed like a felled tree. "Sleep tight," Dr. Mira said pleasantly. The prisoners stared at her in shock. Several were crying. Whether from relief or terror, Veltar couldn't tell. "Are you all right?" she asked them, switching to a gentle, caring tone that was completely different from her fighting voice. "Can anyone walk? We need to get you out of here." As she began untying the prisoners, Captain Jinho and Veltar emerged from their hiding place. The captain surveyed the unconscious Dreknari with professional interest. "Nice work," he told Dr. Mira. "Clean takedown. Minimal damage to the surrounding area." "Thank you, though I think I pulled something in my shoulder." "We'll have the medics look at it when we get back to the station." Veltar found himself staring at the two humans. They were discussing Dr. Mira's minor injury, as if she hadn't just defeated a warrior twice her size in single combat. It was so casual, so normal for them. "Captain," Sergeant Kim Daeho's voice came through the communicator. "You might want to hurry up in there. The remaining pirates are trying to organize a counterattack. How many ships are left?" "Maybe 12. But they're talking about ramming the base if they can't retake it." "Suicide run?" "Looks like it. They'd rather die than let humans win." Captain Jinho nodded as if this made perfect sense. "Copy that. We'll be out in 10 minutes. Dr. Mira was helping the injured prisoners to their feet. Most were able to walk with assistance, but 3 needed to be carried. Under normal circumstances, evacuating 15 people through narrow service tunnels would take hours. But these weren't normal circumstances, and these weren't normal rescuers. Veltar, Captain Jinho said, I need you to guide us to the fastest route out. Your people are good at spatial navigation, right? Yes, but... Good, Mira, can you handle the wounded? I've got them. Veltar watched as Dr. Mira somehow managed to support 2 injured Centaurians who weighed more than she did. She moved with the same efficient grace she had shown in combat, making it look effortless. As they made their way through the tunnels, Veltar found himself thinking about everything he had observed. The humans hadn't won through superior technology or overwhelming numbers. They had won through tactics, psychology, and sheer stubborn determination. But most disturbing of all was how normal it seemed to them. They rescued hostages and defeated enemies like other species might complete routine maintenance tasks. It was just something they did. Captain, Veltar said as they reached the exit, may I ask you something? Of course. Your species. How long have you been fighting wars? Captain Jinho thought for a moment. Recorded history goes back about 10,000 years. We've been fighting wars for all of it. All of it? There's never been a time when humans weren't fighting someone about something. We fight over resources, territory, beliefs, revenge, sometimes just because we're bored. That's horrible. Yes, Captain Jinho agreed calmly. It is, but it's also made us very good at ending fights quickly. As they reached their ship with the rescued prisoners, Veltar realized that the galaxy was about to change in ways no one had anticipated. The Coalition had just welcomed a species that had been bred by 10,000 years of constant warfare. They thought they were gaining peaceful allies. They had actually invited apex predators to join their family, and the predators were being very polite about it.